They'll take a piece of a quote and then they'll take their own other part of the quote and put it in front of it to create something that he didn't say. One of these people, this says the last black full-time opinion columnist at the Washington Post says that she was fired over something that she said about Charlie Kirk. And so here's what she said. And if this is in fact why she got fired, I think if you are a columnist or a journalist, I think it's a fine thing for you to get fired for blatantly misquoting someone in your critique. I think maybe there's a little bit higher standard for someone who writes for a large organization like the Washington Post, although that's not something they always adhere to. So she said, my only direct reference to Kirk was one post, his own words on record. And so what she says are his own words on record go as such. Quote, black women do not have the brain processing power to be taken seriously. You have to go steal a white person's slot. End quote, Charlie Kirk. Now, I don't really like what he said there at the end of that statement, where he says you have to go steal a white person's slot. That's assuming that there wouldn't be anyone else who wasn't white that was going to get in that slot. So I can say I disagree with that part of the statement. If you're talking about college admissions or something, more than likely you didn't steal a white person's slot. You stole an Asian person's slot. And so, let's just do it accurately here. So she says, my commentary received thoughtful engagement across platform support and virtually no public backlash, and yet the Post accused my measured blue sky posts of being unacceptable, gross misconduct, and of endangering the physical safety of colleagues, charges without evidence, which I reject completely as false. Now, what they said is unacceptable and gross misconduct is accurate for someone who is a journalist, because she put quotes around words that Charlie Kirk did not say. And so that's a problem. Now, she probably saw this because it was posted all over the internet and going viral all over the place on places like X or Blue Sky. If things go viral there, I don't know what they call it when something gets 10 reposts, but whatever.
They're on fire.
Yeah. So someone else,
like NBA 2K3.
Someone else said, the Washington Post fired Karen Attia because she quoted Charlie Kirk saying black women do not have the brain processing power to be taken seriously. You have to go steal a white person's slot. She added no comment, merely an accurate quote.
No, it's not.
So I'm going to show you also now. These are new videos that just started going around where they've taken statement from J.D. Vance's appearance on the Charlie Kirk show yesterday, saying that Charlie Kirk said nothing like this. You'll note if you're watching the video, the post on the left has 25,000 reposts and 8.3 million views. The other one has close to 1 million views and 6.8 thousand reposts so far. There is a difference between what people are quoting him as saying, and they even say it right here in this post that has 8.3 million views, where J.D. Vance says Charlie Kirk never said black women do not have the brain processing power to be taken seriously. He never uttered those words. And then they say, oh, here's Charlie Kirk saying, Joy Reid, Michelle Obama, Ketanji Brown Jackson, you do not have the brain processing power to be taken seriously. We'll talk about the difference between that. It might be difficult for some people to understand. I don't know why that's difficult for some people to understand, but we'll talk about the difference there. But then what I want to get to, we'll play the video first, and then we're going to get to Snopes, an organization that fact-checks things for a living.
The writer accuses Charlie of saying, and I quote, black women do not have brain processing power to be taken seriously. But if you go and watch the clip, the very clip she links to, you realize he never said anything like that. He never uttered those words.
If we would have said that Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously.
All right. So it's so interesting to me that you can put those two things together, and then you can play this clip as proof that he said the thing you're claiming he said when the clip itself has him not saying the thing that you said he said. This is literally, so this is
The
becoming
mental gymnastics
know,
it takes.
and I'm going to try to be so.
Now, you can still disagree with what he said.
Well, sure, you
and
can.
you can say it's offensive or whatever.
And so,
Yeah.
but this right now is becoming the new find people on both sides for the left. Okay, they are very, very similar because in the famous "very fine people on both sides" quote from Trump, you had words that he said. It's a little different because they actually took a quote that he said. Now, it just so happens about 30 seconds later in the statement, he says, "I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and white supremacists who should be condemned totally." So they took the first one and they said, he just called white supremacists very fine people. And that was so ingrained in people's minds that it was still being repeated by Barack Obama in the 2024 election cycle.
Actually, it's still being repeated today.
So people still believe it.
I just saw Dave Rubin and Cenk debate on Piers Morgan when Dave Rubin was calling him out about his Charlie Kirk video titles. And
did you just call him an Asian slur?
Yeah. And Cenk still to this day believes that the fine people on both sides was a nasty rhetoric by Trump.
The writer,
It's insane. And I think Magoo makes a good point here too, because you have to understand what Charlie Kirk was talking about. He then goes on to play a video of Sheila Jackson Lee herself talking about it.
Yeah.
That's what he was talking. He was talking about that video. So the clip continues and makes it even worse for the people trying to make a claim of what he said.
So I do want to say we can clearly defend what Charlie Kirk was saying, which we actually did on Dumb Bleep of the Week last week on this very thing right here when he's talking about DEI. You don't even have to do that. The claim is that he said something that he did not say, and it's really bothering me right now. And the Snopes thing really bothered me. I saw this yesterday. So Snopes is a fact-checking organization. I'm going to show you how they lie while fact-checking and telling you the truth at the same time. So it's very interesting. Remember, the quote that is going around is black women do not have the brain processing power to be taken seriously. They decide to fact check that quote, but in their fact check, they don't fact check that quote. Okay? They fact check what he actually said when they do the fact check, but then they use the misquote as an example of what they're fact checking in this fact check. I'm going to show you right here.
And I noticed in the headline, they only quote brain processing power.
Yes, that.
And then in the subtitle, they say he was talking specifically about Michelle Obama, Joy Reid, Sheila Jackson Lee, and Ketanji Brown Jackson.
That's an amazing point right there because they use the quotes properly. They put quotes around the words that he actually said, and then they made their own inferences outside of the quotes. But you're supposed to understand that he said the things that are inside the quote. So they say Charlie Kirk once said prominent black women didn't have brain processing power to be taken seriously. He was talking specifically about Michelle Obama, Joy Reid, Sheila Jackson Lee, and Ketanji Brown Jackson. So let's go to the next one here. So the post they use as an example for their fact check is the misquote that they are fact checking. So here's the viral post that Snopes is fact checking. They use the quote, black women do not have brain processing power to be taken seriously. You have to go steal a white person's slot. Okay. When they actually,
and of course, they link the post and video that you could.
Yes.
That you could watch, but no one's going to click on it. It's a screenshot.
They do the whole dialogue of the whole thing, like in their fact check. But then when they actually give you the fact check, they explain it in the truthful way of what he actually said. And so they use the wrong quote, and then they say, true. He said that. Yep. He sure did say that these specific 4 prominent black women did not have the brain processing power to be taken seriously, while using an example of someone who was misquoting him, acting as if, and so what's the difference here?
By the way, go to that true, the true, look at what the claim is. Turning Point USA founder and CEO Charlie Kirk once said some prominent black women did not have, now they start the quotes, the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. So they took his actual words and then they added, as you said, inference in the beginning, completely misstating what he actually said.
But they used it as
And then
a
they say,
fact check
"True."
for this post,
Yeah.
which is not the quote.
It's I can see that you're malfunctioning right now.
I need to talk to a person who thinks he said this right now, or I'm not going to be able to sleep at night.
Or you need
It's just
better
not,
help.
It's not going to work. And so what's the difference here? The clear difference is you can talk about in a conversation about DEI. You can say, I'm going to name 4 of these prominent black women who have literally said they benefited from affirmative action or DEI policies. And so it's important to note that he can talk about those 4 people in that context, saying that they were affirmative action hires, that they got their jobs because of DEI or affirmative action. That does not mean that he made a blanket statement that all black women do not have the brain processing power. It would be similar to if someone said, Joe Biden and Donald Trump and whoever else, they're just crazy tyrants, authoritarian tyrants who just want to steal from you and live high on the hog. And then you took that and you put, quote, here's what Nate Thurston just said. White men are just evil, authoritarian, tyrannical dictators who just want to take from you, who are living high on the hog. So there's a difference between those 2 statements. One, I was talking about 2 specific people, and the other, when you misquoted me, said that I said a blanket statement about all people who are of a certain race and sex. And so there is a difference when people hear that. When you do a man on the street and you're like, well, what do you think about Charlie Kirk saying that black women don't have brain processing power to be taken seriously? When someone hears that, they're like, well, that's kind of crazy, right? I mean, that sounds a little racist when you think about it.
But he didn't say it.
Yeah, the problem is he didn't say it. There are different, if I can just get one last little batch of autism out for everyone. There are different ways that you could say this, and I put the different versions up here on the screen. You could take the actual quote that he said, which is, if we would have said 3 weeks ago that Joy Reid, Michelle Obama, Sheila Jackson Lee, and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You did not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to be taken somewhat seriously. Okay, so there's the actual quote. That has morphed into, quote, black women do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken seriously. It would have been acceptable if you're a news organization in today's day and age to make a headline that said something like this. Charlie Kirk said black women, quote, do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken seriously. That's still untrue, but it happens all the time in the news. They make their own inference on what they think it meant, what he said meant, and then they only put the part that the person said in quotes. Anytime you see a headline that's got an idea in front of it and then a quote, you got to go and check and see if that's what that person actually said. Mm-hmm. Because that person that wrote the headline just decided to make their own claim about what that person actually said. And then they'll use like one word from the person's quote and just write around it.
My thing is why? Why do they knowingly do this? They know they have to know it's not true. So why? What's the point? Is it clicks?
Honestly,
is it rage bait? Is it because it fits the narrative? I don't understand. I can't quite wrap my mind around like why these alternate realities are created. There again, even with this specific quote, there's plenty to debate on what he actually said. Why do they have to morph it into something that it's not and then push a narrative?
Well, I'll tell you the actual truth.
Because it's their religion?
I'll tell you the actual truth, and that's the people that are making this claim or who actually think this is true do not have the brain power to be taken seriously. And that's...
It's a defensive response.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that don't have the brain processing power.
I think Charlie's right. No.